Boobies!
Buenos dias.
Hola.
Hi and welcome.
And yeah, welcome to Boobies.
Boobies.
That's right. We're your host. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And now how many languages do you know hello in? Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
안녕하세요.
I don't know that one. Is that
That's Korean.
Korean? Okay.
Yeah. Hallo.
Hello.
That's German.
German. Okay.
Guten Morgen. Good morning.
I literally only know Spanish and in English, like for
bonjour.
like good morning. Oh, okay.
You know bonjour.
Is that also good morning and for hello, right?
I think it's hello.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never taken French.
Bonsoir is like bye, and bonne nuit is good night. That's all I know.
Good night. I only know un, deux, trois, and I know le poisson, which means fish.
And everybody knows
le poisson,
omelette de fromage.
Omelette du fromage. Yeah, I do know that.
Le poisson, le poisson. Hi hi ho ho ho.
Hi 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 ho ho ho.
Today, you guys, we're gonna be talking about In the Mouth of Madness.
Our mouths just got pretty mad right then.
They did.
They were doing some wacky things.
They did.
Talking all the different languages.
It's been a day.
It has. We're going into madness ourselves.
We are descending.
Descending
into chaos.
This gave very Twin Peaks.
That's the sequel.
Have you ever seen Twin Peaks?
I've seen pieces. Yes and no. Yes and no. But I'm familiar. I'm very familiar.
Yeah. This movie gave Twin Peaks to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
And a few moments of it.
Also very like Lovecraft.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
novels.
I mean, one of the first novel covers they showed, I was like, that's Cthulhu.
And which I'm sure he took a lot. I mean, he took a lot of inspiration from.
If anyone was going to have a magical world that, like, if any prolific author was going to have this happen, it would probably be H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in this twisted sense. Because otherwise,
yeah,
obviously,
with
there's
like
a
the
lot
creatures
of other great...
and then like the whole town setting type of vibe thing where it's like we're writing, but then it actually turns out to be a real place. And then there's a lot going on. There's a lot of concepts. There's a lot of theories. There's a lot of stuff out there. Directed by John Carpenter, which everybody knows from, Halloween.
Halloweeny. Our boy, Michael.
It follows essentially Sam Neill, our leading man. You'll know him from Jurassic Park, one of the best movies of all time.
Yes.
And
he plays Trent.
Plays Trent.
Okay. For starters, we watched this movie on YouTube.
So did I, for free.
It is free. However, YouTube does not have subtitles.
No.
So it took me a really long time to figure out Trent's name because at one point I thought they were calling him John. And then I don't know where I got that from. Yeah. But this just goes to show how
much subtitles help.
They do. Need that.
And especially when like there are things that you don't see on screen, but they're happening still. The subtitles will say that. And it's good for us in taking notes because I'm like, we're picking up on every detail.
Exactly.
But yeah.
I had to pause a lot and like rewind and do that.
So like hear what was going on. Yeah, it's apparently John Carpenter has like, I guess what fans call a trio of apocalypse films that he's made, and this being one of them, being the final one actually, and it was preceded by Prince of Darkness and The Thing.
Interesting.
Which I don't know how The Thing. I'll have to relook into where I read it at, but I guess The Thing is very apocalyptic because essentially it's an alien creature that is now they're trying to prevent from getting to the rest of the world, and creating chaos.
Is there a new? No.
Is there a new what?
Oh, Carnival Row gets Lovecraft. Okay, I think it is based off of Lovecraft.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, it had a clip and I was like, that is not the movie I watched. And then for half a second, I panicked and was like, oh fuck, did I watch the wrong movie?
Oh, that was scary. That's a scary thought. No, you watched the right movie.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Phew. Good. Okay. Great. We're back.
We're back on board.
Well, anyways, the intro's so 90s.
Yeah, very much so. And the music is that guitar song, banging song.
It's like Metallica.
By John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gave Metallica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's of the times, I would assume.
So John Carpenter, like, I mean, he does that. He created the iconic intro for Halloween, even though it sounds remarkably similar to the Exorcist little ditty as well.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
What was that? The tolling of the bells or something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, very of the times. We start with that, and then it's getting credits over it. It's essentially like a printing press.
Yeah.
And we're seeing they're creating these books by an author named Sutter Kane.
Sutter Kane. What a name.
Yeah, so that sounds like a name that sells books.
It does.
Yeah, it really does.
You definitely have seen,
Have you read Sutter Kane?
I have.
Yeah.
Have you read Sutter Kane?
And I see.
Whenever you're going through the like old used bookstore that has a cat and stuff, and you're nice and cozy, and then they've got like that, all the sci-fi or even the like love books and stuff, the like the smutty ones with the prints with the bulging chest and stuff, and how it has their names real big at the bottom. And that would be on there. Sutter Kane. I can see it. Totally.
And then I just in my notes I have an ambulance. We got an ambulance coming by. And that's right, because it's got our lead character in it, Mr. Trent.
Yep, they're bringing Trent to a psychiatric hospital.
Exactly. Bringing him in, and he's got his stray jacket, and he does seem a little crazy. He's fighting them bringing him in, of course. And we have
I feel like any person would when you've been restrained in such a way.
Sure. Yeah. And even the crazier, the more fight in them, I believe, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be fighting pretty hard if I was not crazy, though, too. I'd be like, get me the fuck out of this.
But you can't break out of it, can you?
No.
So doesn't that make you look even more crazy if you're being like, yeah. You got to stay calm.
Let me out
and
and
breathe,
stuck in your pocket.
And then talk about it.
Yeah. I haven't been to therapy in a long time.
After you slit their throats.
Yeah.
There you go. And then it's real easy, because then, like, there's no...
Then they're dead.
There's no talkbacks. And so he's obviously fighting it. It's Sam Neill, because you don't really tell... You can't tell at first, but then it's like shows his face finally when he lifts his head up. And he's telling them that he's not crazy. But they do end up putting him in like a little lock in a little cell. And as he's saying, like, he's not insane, we have all the rest of the people in the same, what are those called? Jail cell areas.
All of their
rooms.
They're padded cells.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say they're cells.
What's a corridor?
Yeah.
The corridor people that are in there
are all it's
reciting.
A chorus of "I'm not insane. I'm not either."
And the third one down, the last one was John Carpenter himself.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah. I love how he yells, "I'm sorry about the balls." That was funny.
Yeah. And we have the guy who was, did you get a name of the doctor guy with the crazy hair? No, crazy hair doctor guy, who also seemed like he was touching patients, like, or doing some weird shit behind the scenes. Like, he seemed not well. Did you notice? He
just seemed like he enjoyed watching
their torture or sufferment. Maybe.
That's what he gave to me.
But he seemed weird.
Like he really loved his job.
Which is a weird job to love.
Yes.
And
in an unhealthy amount, he loved his job. It's good to be passionate about psychiatry and wanting to help people, but he seemed like he got enjoyment from watching these people suffer.
And he turns up the music to like avoid hearing them screaming and stuff. And it's the Carpenters, and Sam Neill is like, not the Carpenters, which is funny because it's a movie directed by John Carpenter. And then the lights dim, and he is having what is like a fever dream.
Yes.
Or a hallucination, I guess.
Yeah. I'd say hallucination. And this part was this had to be probably the creepiest part in the whole movie, in my opinion, was this little scrawny, sickly hand coming and knocking on his window. Dot, dot, dot.
Yeah.
It looked so creepy from behind him. Like, so he didn't even like see it, but I was like, ugh.
But he hears the knock, and then that's when we get like the shadow figure.
Yeah,
like
that's behind him.
Popping up behind him. And then he's like, oh, well, this is a sorry way to end it or something like that. And they're
this is not the end. You haven't read it yet.
And then we get like flashes of light and thunder. And then obviously like the hand breaks through the window.
Yeah.
And at this point, had he already? No, he hadn't. No, my bad.
He'd not colored his cell yet. That's about to happen.
Yeah, because after he's doing all of that, we have some outside doctor coming in.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe with the FBI,
possibly,
or CIA, or some sort of secret intelligent group.
Very much so.
Because that, like, even the comment that the doctor made of saying like, oh, they're bringing y'all in, like, must be pretty serious
out there. Do y'all think he's one of them?
Yeah. Kind of thing.
And the doctor, the outside man investigator, asked, did he request anything? And the doctor said just one thing: a single black crown.
Single black crayon.
And so he ends up going in there and talking to our Mr. Trent, and he said that what does he say? He's changed his mind on wanting to go out. He wants to stay in there now, or something like that.
Yeah. Basically he had decided like, never mind, I don't want to go out. And he was like, I heard that you made quite the ruckus about wanting to get out. And he was like, yeah, no,
never mind.
It's safer here. And he had drawn I was like, oh, he's drawn all over the walls. He crazy. And then I was like, and then he turns around and I was like, oh my God. And himself.
His face.
He has colored on his face, his clothing.
Bunch of crosses.
Colored on everything. Yeah. Bunch of crosses. Trying to protect himself from this evil.
And there weren't any words. It was just crosses, right?
Yeah. It was just a bunch of different shapes of crosses. Some looking rather ornate and some that were just a line with a line.
And I think this is when he ends up asking him like what he was doing or what brought him here, and we kind of essentially get like in the beginning.
In the beginning there was. We basically started with the end in this film. And then now we're going back in time and we're going to figure out exactly how Trent got into this situation.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, so essentially
he's an insurance adjuster.
He's an insurance adjuster working for the hired, contracted freelance essentially by the city. And we open up on watching him basically do his job, where he is not investigating, but questioning this dude over his company, I guess, because he had he had burned his own warehouse and tried to claim it, for insurance and get a check for it. But then Trent is so good at his job that he like has pictures of his wife and his lover. Wearing items that were supposedly had been burned in the fire after the fire had happened. So obviously it wasn't true.
Yep.
So he was like,
he can smell a hoax from a mile away, basically.
And he was like, if you end up burning something down and trying to scam people and you get your wife in on it, make sure not to like sleep around on her.
Yeah. Especially
solid advice.
Yeah. If you're going to make her a partner and all that jazz, don't two-time her.
Exactly.
Because then she's going to know quite a lot of information. Yep. But then we flash to him in a little cafe, right? And
a little diner cafe situation.
They're sitting there with his boss, right?
Yeah, and his boss is basically like, praising him on like how well he does and how good he is at his job. And he then brings up another case for him that they need to help. But before he can as they're talking about this, we do see that in the foyer in the background that they're from the other side of the street is this crazy man with an axe.
Yep.
And he's locked eyes on Mr. Trent, and
he is making a straight line for him.
I kind of really I enjoyed the way this was shot because they're so deep in conversation that they don't notice until he literally comes in like this like
slams through the window.
Yeah, it's pretty good. His boss, such a pussy. I'm sorry.
Like, just like
maybe bad verbiage. My bad. Don't cancel me. Oh, but he was screaming so loud and like so scared.
Well, and also Trent.
Was it with Trent as well? I don't know.
Well,
I feel
he
like
was just floundering in the seat, and I was like, "Bro, get out of the fucking." It is not that hard to get out of a booth.
People freeze up though.
Well, it was like he was trying, but he was just like not actually doing anything. And I was like, "Get your act together, Trent.
Come on,
or you're gonna die."
And so this dude, crazy as he may be, ends up coming to Trent, and he asks him, "Do you read Sutter Kane?
Do you read?"
And his eyes are like super deformed, not deformed, like but like blue, and like did it look like it had two irises almost, right? Like two, they were merging almost like. It two almost eyes looked merging.
Like, you know what? When a diamond, when you're looking at the bottom of it. And it's got like, you know, all those different, it kind of looked like that to me. Like their eyeballs were almost like 3D.
I see that.
Is what it seemed like.
Obviously not normal. No. And they're all like, whoa. And before he can get any more information or talk or they can exchange anything, the police come in and shoot down this man.
Yep.
With a lot of rounds. Way more than they needed, probably. And
yeah, this movie, I mean, could also talk about police brutality.
Oh yeah, because there's a few scenes.
There's quite a few scenes where they go way overboard.
Yeah,
much past what they needed to do.
And after all of this happens, we have him back home, and he's kind of listening to a news broadcasting over Sutter Kane, and basically. Kind of what like Twilight did back in the day when all the books came out and all the, you know, everybody's fangirling and all everybody's rushing to the stores to get the books. But this is like times 20 and people are actually like, well, I guess not yet, but.
Well, no, they said
rioting. Yeah.
Riots were happening everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they couldn't get, the books
sold out, couldn't get their copy or something.
And they just couldn't get their copies and stuff like that. / I think the pre-orders were full, like past what they had already ordered. I don't know, things like that.
Yeah. And I think this is when we kind of give it like some kind of talk of like how, like, you know, when does religion meet books and books meet religion, kind of, or like where's the line that gets drawn in between kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because people are taking it so like to heart and like actually letting it influence their actions
to where they become violent.
Crazy
and stuff
people.
Like that. Yeah, they're getting a little too into the story.
It's fiction, guys. It's fiction.
Sometimes it is hard for me to separate. Yeah. A lot of the times when I'm reading or like when I'm watching anime, I'll be thinking throughout the day, I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're up to.
Aw.
And then I'm like,
they're real. No, they're not.
Then I'm like,
you're like depressed.
Wait. Yeah. And then I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
And when I was like rereading the Harry Potter series, I was like, I wonder what's going on at Hogwarts. When I was like at work, I was just like, what are they up to right now? I need to know.
Casting spells.
Even though I already read the books, but I still need to know what's happening in between the lines when I'm not there.
That is called obsession.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's a good obsession, at least.
Tend to.
It's Harry Potter.
Hyper focus on things.
It's a part of the ADHD.
Yeah.
Yay. And so we have him now meeting this old geezer who is the CEO of, I guess, this publishing company.
Yeah.
And he has called in Mr. Trent because, and also Miss, what's her name, Linda?
Yeah, Linda Stiles.
Linda Stiles is there, who is an editor-in-chief over the Sutter Kane novels. But anyways, Trent is brought in because Sutter Kane happens to be one of their clients, and he has turned in basically what should have been his latest book, but the envelope was empty, and there is no like return address. So, and he just went missing. So they don't have no idea where he is. He was supposed to give them a book, and so they think he has it still, and they're hiring him because of his line of work, so he can find him, almost like a private investigator.
Yeah, also because, I mean, insurance wise, they have billions of dollars sunk into this book because as they come out, they've already sold the publishing rights, or like
to the
movie. They've already like pre-sold all of these copies to other places. Like they've already translated it, or like lined up to translate it in all these different languages and stuff as well. Like they had a lot to lose by him not turning in that full manuscript. I think he turned in the first part of it.
Oh, okay.
But not all of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
And so, Sam Neill is basically like, I'm your guy. And so he's like, I can do this. But the CEO is saying, well, I know you can do this, but I'm also going to send Miss Styles to go with you. I'm sure you won't mind. And so that kind of sets up like, okay, we're probably going to have like a little love interest type of situation going on with them. But then
and we also figure out that it was Kane's agent was the man with the axe.
That's right.
That he was the one who had gone and done that to all those people. And I like that they mentioned that Kane outsells Stephen King, which is like
just a little funny little nod.
Yeah. And it's like, damn, I'd like to see him try.
And so we have then him going down, to the main there. He's gonna leave essentially the office place, but that's whenever he ends up talking to Miss Styles. They get by the elevator.
Putting the moves on her.
Yeah, he was. Gross. I was also like, he's too close to her. At the elevator, and like the way, like the body language, and then he did what do you say, like he flirted with her or tried to
just the way that he put his arm right like next to her face, put his hand on the wall, and it's like, that's an obvious like, I'm trying to get with you move. Like, you don't just do that for no reason.
It gives movie made in 90s.
Yeah.
And how men talk to women. And so that's whenever we do have them talking for a while, and she's essentially saying like, because I guess he's still kind of being like, what's the big fuss? Like, what's the big hubbub of like this Sutter Kane and all this shit? And this is probably a publicity stunt, and this isn't real. And she's just trying to convince him essentially to take on the case.
Yeah. Saying you should read it for yourself. And I think this is where she also mentions that Kane became convinced that his work was real and not fiction.
And so that's whenever he ends up walking home. And it seems, I guess he has a bag of the books and stuff, but he's about to walk past an alley. But before he does, that's when we see him looking at these posters on the wall, and he pulls it back, right? Or it like starts peeling itself.
Yeah, it was already like peeled. And he peels it back slightly, but then stops once he hears some ruckus happening around the corner. And whenever he rounds the corner, he sees, this is one of the instances of police brutality I was mentioning. He just sees this police officer going ham on this boy guy. Tagger, with a baton, just beating the shit out of him.
And we see the can of spray paint on the floor, and we just see like ICA on the wall spray painted. So it's not like, we'll find out later that there's more going to be added to that, but it's basically ICA. But the cop ends up turning around and looking at Sam. I keep calling him Sam, Trent, and he tells him, well, as Trent walks away, what does he ask him? Like, you want some next or something like that?
You want some of this? You want to be next, kind of thing. And I was like, he was just an onlooker, sir.
But do you think that, I mean, that is also like the Sutter Kane effect, right?
Yeah, the monster
of what's happening and taking over.
Although his face, I don't think was deformed yet.
Just yet. Yeah. I also thought it could be like everything that led up to.
Sorry.
That's the thing. It's attacking. Everything that led up.
Like Styles.
Oh, that's so scary. Or yeah. There's so many things we could say. Or like the thing from Prometheus. Have you ever seen that?
I've actually not. I know.
Okay, it's more sci-fi than horror. But no, I just feel like all of this too leading up, because we're essentially the book that he's supposed to be going to retrieve is the book that's being written at the same time. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Time's like, all
kind of all in one, everything at once kind of situation again.
He's being written. So all of this is happening because of what Sutter wrote. And yeah, that's the first half of the book.
And so that's why I thought like the reoccurring every time he would come to this alley, like it's not real, essentially.
No, yeah.
It's just in his mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably.
Okay, I don't know, but that was what I was one kind of aspect that I was thinking that about. But he at this point, I don't know if you got it, but he's talking to someone on the phone. I don't know who.
Oh, yeah.
On his couch, and he's basically just talking about like the book
before he gets home, he stops at the bookstore. So before all that happens, but the police brutality thing happens, and then he stops at the bookstore. And this is where the rando man, like, because he walks in and all the shelves are destroyed but Sutter Kane's. And then the rando man says, like, he sees you.
I can see, and he sees you. Yeah. I guess because he was on the phone for like a quick second before, because then I'm like, oh, he's on the phone again.
Oh, yeah, because then when he's on the phone on the couch, he's talking to his boss.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. And he dreams, then he's like reading through the books and stuff, but then he falls asleep and he's dreaming back to the incident with the graffiti artist. And he's written, this is where we see, I can see. Is that he's written.
Yeah. But it ends up just being a dream.
Yeah.
Because he wakes up, and this happens...
His dream was
multiple
intense.
Times, yeah.
Because then this is where the police officer turns around and he says he sees you.
Yeah, because he's on the couch, and it's a dream within a dream within a dream.
And we're watching a man get destroyed by an axe, and a woman like eating his flesh, and stuff like that. And then that's when he wakes up, and then the cop's next to him looking real gross,
real busted. Yeah,
looking like you soaked him in a tub of water for a few too many days. Face was just
bloated. And I have ink fingers for some reason. Someone had ink fingers.
Oh yeah,
I think that's next. My bad. But as is after he
once
wakes
he
up
actually wakes up, because obviously the cop wasn't actually next to him, but it was a dream within a dream. So he woke up for real on his couch after the scare with the cop.
Yeah.
And I think there was ink all over his fingers because whenever he like rubbed the page on the book or something to like close it, it was covered in
ink.
Yeah.
And I think this is the point when he starts getting the idea of the title page covers of all the books.
Yeah.
And he starts to rip them up because he sees that there's like outlines on each of them, and he cuts all the pieces, and it's like a puzzle.
Makes a little puzzle
coming together, and it makes a map, which happens to be in the shape of New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Yep. And he basically lines it up, and he says like this little dot here where it like intersects with this line would be Hobbs End. And they're like, yeah, but that's not a real place, because he goes back to the publishing companies and explaining it to them,
Linda and the CEO,
saying that I think this is where he is this location. He was mapping us. That's why he wanted to do all the cover art himself, is because he was building this map, making this world.
That's right.
And through those little red strings that were on each cover. And now he's telling us exactly where he is.
Exactly. And the boss says, okay, go. But this is when he says, I'm going to send Miss Styles with you.
Yeah.
And so we get them, they're in the car, they're traveling. It's nighttime already.
And thank God we don't have to read maps anymore.
Yeah, for real.
He was waving that thing around, and I was like, damn, I remember those days.
I wouldn't be able to read a map. I'll tell you right now. I can't even read the navigational system as it's telling me where to go.
It's giving you the exact direction.
Literally, and I still mess it up. But we have, I guess at this point, he's driving first, and they're having conversation, and they're essentially just this is just kind of building their connection.
Yeah.
And so the next thing I have is that like she ends up taking over driving, because they take turns.
Yeah.
Because I like such a far ride.
With that conversation they were having, I like that she says, what scares me about Kane's work is what might happen if reality shares Kane's point of view.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was a good line that really basically just
sums up the whole
movie. Yeah. I was like, okay, roll credits.
That's her fear, and that's the movie.
And then he was saying like, oh, like I would basically go insane. She was like, yeah, you'd have to be locked up or something. And he was like, that would never happen to me. And I was like, LOL, that's exactly going to happen to you.
It's very ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah. The irony is real. And so and then they switch places, and she's driving, and he ends up falling asleep. But as she's driving, she ends up seeing
this young kid riding a bike, and he's got these two like little Joker cards in his spokes. And yeah, so he's got these little Joker cards in his spokes, and she passes him, and he just kind of fades into the blackness of once her taillights aren't on his face anymore. And of course, he's riding down the center stripe too. Yeah. So like
very dangerous.
The very wrong spot to be riding your bike in the dark. But then not long after, she passes this old man. On the same bike with like the same cards with like in
very
his spokes.
Like gray hair, very long hair. Looks almost witch-like. I thought almost like Michael Myers, like.
Yeah,
because it's going by fast.
Reminds me of Halloween Town, like all the people whenever they were stuck in the,
Sharpa apart. Yeah,
when
and
they were
the
stuck
spell
in
from Calabar's Revenge.
Yeah.
Inside
the movie theater.
Oh, in the first one. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. But still Calabar.
Still Calabar.
Yeah.
And so she ends up passing him, and I think at this point she tries to like ask like what's his name, Trent, if he sees anything, but he's passed out.
Yeah.
And so then like she's looking back, and at the same time it almost seems as though like she's like not dozy, but like it's like blurring, and like
she's like going in and out of reality, kind of.
And she ends up hitting the fucker.
Yeah. She passes him, and then he comes back again, but this time dead straight on in front of her car,
and it's too late before she realizes it, and it's just like bam.
Yeah.
And I guess it's real because it is real because Trent wakes up, and they're like, oh my god, and then they have to run out.
Yeah.
And they we see the body and the like tire of the wheel spinning. And he's going, Trent tries to go and see if he can get any help or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, Trent was, I think, still also just like half asleep. I feel like he wasn't being very helpful in general. But as she's sitting there with him, the old guy says, I can't get out. He won't let me out, kind of thing. And it was like, what? And then he just gets up. Motherfucker just gets up and he rides away.
That's it. And then
with a completely straight back.
Yeah. And
we know I hate that.
Trent comes and is like, wait, was he okay? And she's just like,
I don't fucking know, I guess.
Yeah. And they just end up leaving essentially. And he's like, we'll tell the cops in the next town or something.
Yeah.
And we see that it's 1:41 a.m. And she's driving again, but it's also giving like, it's like she's almost falling asleep, but not. And then we see, it looks like the car is flying because she's looking like outside.
Yeah, it went completely black. Like you couldn't see the center stripe at all. Everything went dark. She like even her headlights weren't illuminating anything. This bitch ends up putting her head out the window, and I was like, "Girl, that seems real dangerous."
Hereditary.
But yeah, oh god. But she ends up doing that, and then all of a sudden some thunder flashes, and you see clouds beneath them, so like they're flying. Yeah, which was, I thought that was a pretty cool shot. I like that. And then all of a sudden she's driving on a covered bridge,
and you can see like light slipping in between like the planks of the covered bridge and stuff, and she's also like kind of coming in and out of this like whatever it is daydream, and she's like trying to get control, but she can't. And then finally it just turns into brightness. We come to daylight. We come out of the bridge, and we see that we are welcomed into Hobbs End.
Hobbs End. Yep. They get out of the car and they start exploring, and it's basically like an abandoned city until this dog starts running. Yeah. And then there's this like mob of kids running behind it.
But she's the only one who sees them. He doesn't even see them.
He can't see them.
And we do see an axe with blood. And she said she read about this place because she's like recognizing everything that is from the book that she's read from Sutter Kane's work.
She knows every detail of the place.
Because they make their way into a hotel, essentially. And she knew that there was going to be like a painting to her right or behind them, and that there was a loose board.
She was like, there's a loose board right there. Yep. And then this is where we finally get another human that they both can see.
Yes. Miss something or another.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but
I wrote her name down somewhere, I think.
I recognize her from Charmed. She's been in an episode of Charmed before.
Oh,
but
cool.
She's an older actress. And she is supposed to be like the clerk, the concierge, all of the above.
Yeah, I think she's like the owner,
lady of the house.
Of the
her and her husband
hotel. I almost said hospital.
And this is whenever Trent, I think, is just talking to her, and he's asking her questions, I guess.
Asking all them questions.
And she's not really being too weird at this point, I don't think. It's just playing it very like normal.
Because he was like, oh, we just had to stop into your very famous city. And she was like, famous? Right. And he was like, I bet you get lots of business around here. And she was like, nobody ever really comes around here anymore, kind of thing.
That's right. And he tells her about Sutter Kane, and she's like, I've never heard of him.
Yeah. Okay. Never heard of that.
She is acting weird. My bad.
A little bit, but not as weird as she does later.
Yeah. And we do see that Miss Stiles looks back at the painting again, and the lady's face has changed the position. So that's already pretty creepy. Picture is moving.
Very scary.
And the old lady seems very unaware. That's what I have in my notes. So at this point, they just end up in the room, and I'm like, did they even pay for this? Yeah,
who knows? I wonder what kind of currency. But they end up in the room, and then this is when she asks, what if Kane's work isn't fiction?
What if it's real?
Because all of this is exactly as it was in the book. And he was like, if it was, there would be a black spired church outside with the gold onion looking things on top. And he was like, but no, this is a barn. And she goes, you didn't read closely enough. If you did, it's from the east. And opens the window.
A book nerd.
And I was like, damn.
Yeah, and it's there. So even he's like, whoa. Oop. Yeah. And they end up walking to the church. And that's whenever she sees the kids again on the way there.
Chasing after that little puppy again.
Yep, and he's reading the book, trying to get more information, I guess. Yeah, and so they make their way all the way up to the church, but as they make their way up, for some reason, all these fuckers start coming in trucks.
Men showing up with guns.
They have guns.
They're yelling.
Yeah, and she's
Give them back.
And
they shout.
That sounded like you're reading like a book to kids.
I know.
Yeah. And so they end up.
That was how I wrote it in my notes. So
I feel it in my heart. And so they end up. She's like, let's get out of here. They've got guns. We got to go. And he's like, I want to stay for this. And so they are yelling what you said. Give them back. And we see that the church doors open up. And there's this little boy, little blonde boy, white kid, blondie. Just there. But like the doors open and they close and they open and they close. So it's kind of
slamming a few times. I was like,
teasing everybody, I guess.
Damn, it seems like it's real close to his face.
Yeah. But by like the fifth time, it ends up being Sutter Kane.
Yep.
It's an adult.
The little boy turns into Kane. And then he releases all of his bloodhounds.
Release the hounds.
They weren't actually bloodhounds. No, they were Dobermans.
Dobermans,
I believe.
Gotcha.
But he releases the dogs and they're like attacking. But and they're about to get into the car, Trent and Stiles are about to get into the car whenever she runs into the little girl, and the little girl says, I see.
Yeah.
And then they're like, they get back to the hotel, right?
Yeah, because at this point they get back and Trent is pissed off because he's like, this whole thing was staged. I see now what you're doing. This is a hoax. And Miss Stiles comes clean because she's like, you know what? That's half true, because
half of a stunt.
Half of it was a stunt, but Sutter Kane did go missing.
Because we sent him away, but he never showed up to where he was supposed to
go. So, yeah. And so now that we did find him, we weren't supposed to find anything. So this is weird.
This is weird that we found stuff. And it's all, she's saying this is all happening for real. That the evil is taking over. Oh, wait, this is when. Wait.
What?
Oh, yeah. She says an evil is taking over and it's starting with the children.
Exactly.
Basically. Sorry, I thought maybe that he was in the bar at this point.
Oh, you're good, because that's when they're still talking about it, and they're saying that they need to read the new book.
Yeah.
And all this, and they need to get the new book. And she starts like kissing all over him because I guess she's trying to convince him to help her.
Yeah, that was what I thought. And I guess they just needed. Like at one point at the end when she was like, Kane's writing, like he's writing, making me want to kiss you or something because it's good for the book.
I guess, right? And so he's trying to leave, I guess, still even more so. And he does end up walking out. He takes his bag. He's like, come with me. But she's like, no. And so he leaves. And so he gets downstairs and he's smoking. And the old lady's like, no smoking, please. And so she's talking to him and he's like, I guess he's talking to her. I don't remember.
This is where she starts saying weird things, like, and just being like, oh, you know, my friend Styles said that you painted that picture. And she was like, what?
She was like, hell no.
Yeah, she was like, hell no, I want nothing to do with that. But she just starts acting really odd and bizarre because she's got her fucking husband chained to her goddamn ankle.
Shackled.
Naked.
Literally. And he's just like literally thumping around trying to like get, and he's like 98 or something because he can barely, maybe he looks fragile.
He does.
And he's trying to make noise and she's like kicking him to stay quiet.
She's like, shush you. And while that's happening, we see Styles run off without him in the background.
And he sees her, so she's like, let me go after her. And at this point, he did, I think, even notice that the picture moved a little bit. And so it was different from what he saw earlier. And that's whenever we saw someone.
Styles goes to the church.
That's right. Styles does go to church, and he follows after her.
Yeah. And whenever she gets there, the kids are all there again. And the little girl says, you're my mommy.
Yeah.
Today is mommy's day.
It's so weird.
It was creepy. And her face is like covered in blood and it's really kind of distorted now. And you can see the dog, I think, had 3 legs. I think they ate one of the dog's legs.
I could see that. Sure.
I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Or they just took it for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the, like a lot of the kids had there was blood on them as if they'd been eating something.
And after the whole it's mommy's day spiel, we do have, we get to read on the door of the church, anyone who enter this place shall be damned. Anyone
who dare enter this unholy site be damned forever.
I love how she's just like, okay, just walks in.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Goes in and we have her going in. She gets into the church and she ends up finding like a secret room.
Yeah. And there's upside down crosses in the church too, which is ooh, that is the opposite of what the church should
look like. And so I think she like can't get in there at first, but then like the door opens up again, or I don't know.
Yeah, she opens it up first and there's basically nothing in the room.
That's right.
And then she's walking off. She gets like 3 paces away from it and then she hears click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, like little typewriter keys.
She opens up the door again and it's a different room.
Yep. A whole different room that's like floor to ceiling, black and red, almost like tendony.
It reminded me kind of like of a room from Little Nicky, the hell kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's Sutter Kane.
It's Sutter Kane. He's in there typing away.
Yep.
He's writing the end of the book. And then he tells her, you can edit this one from the inside looking out.
Yeah.
You can be
there was that thing that even like
story.
Tried to scare her as well before she walked in, I think.
Oh yeah.
It was a jump scare. But yeah, exactly, that she can edit it from the inside out because she's in it.
Yep.
And so I think that's, he's telling her as well, for years he's been trying to write this book. And essentially everything that he had written up until this point, he had written because what behind the bloody doors had been telling him what to write.
Yeah. They were telling me what to write and they're giving me the power to make it all real. And now it is.
Yep. And
he says, look at the new Bible, the instrument of change.
Yeah.
God.
And he grabs her and just shows her the book by essentially like bending her over bending her over it, and it turns like flashes wide over her, and then all of a sudden we just see that like, you know, her eyes start bleeding when she comes back up from it.
Yeah, and we get little flashes of like what's to come, with the little
kind of like earlier
tentacles under the doorway that's gonna happen.
She
stuff
sees
like
creatures
that.
and stuff, and then then we see that he has a creature on his back.
Yeah,
it's almost this like
he says it helps you see. It reminded me of Harry Potter.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Stone.
Professor Lord
Trench. No, that's
Professor Quibble. No, it'll come to us.
I think it is Quibble.
Professor
or Quibble. Quill.
No. Well, it'll come to us.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, you know the one who's got Voldemort on the back of his head.
Ah. Yeah. And so what happens next?
Are you gonna look it up?
Yeah.
Okay, good. At this point, I put Linda gets around because she starts like almost
Professor Quirrell. Yeah.
She almost starts like making out with him too.
Yeah.
And I was like, ew.
Kind of gross.
And then this is where she basically pops back into the hotel room and she's in hysterics and she's yelling, I'm losing me. I'm losing sight of what makes me me and stuff, basically.
Yeah.
And then starts
she ends up passing out, right?
Yeah. Going Pickman. Pickman is the name of the lady at the hotel.
Gotcha.
But now she's freaking out. So Trent goes to go get help and he runs downstairs. We notice that the painting has changed again and now it's into like straight up creatures.
They're creatures, yeah, like wood creatures.
Yeah, they were looking real freaky.
Fucked up.
And he gets back up to the room and and Styles is as well. Styles is also turned into a creature.
Yeah, because before at that point, the old lady turned into that, right?
Oh yes, sorry, I skipped that line.
I was about to say,
Miss Pickman was cutting up her husband
in the basement, and she was like a tentacle monster,
and she's a creature.
It kind of reminded me of the monsters or the creatures, aliens from The Faculty.
Yes.
And so we have her.
I liked that movie.
It was pretty good. He goes upstairs, and that's whenever he sees tentacles and stuff from under the door, and like the silhouetted,
which was the same tentacles that we saw earlier in her little visions.
Yeah. And so she comes out of the restroom
because everything's from Trent's point of view,
and he's already like, now, don't trust her. And what she tries to, she I don't even remember. She throws herself on him or something.
Something like that. And then
But she turns into a creature immediately and starts attacking him.
Yeah, my next note is kids surrounding Styles chanting, "You are a dead girl." And so basically I think they're in the town center now.
Yeah. Because he's gotten out. He saw that one like creature of the lagoon looking thing in the like garden area. He's out on the road. And then that's whenever all the townspeople are out there rioting.
Yeah. And that's where they're chanting, "You are a dead girl." And then this weird person runs up and yells, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
And then runs into the circle as well. Oh, that part made me laugh.
And that's whenever at this point we have this other dude coming and killing himself.
Yeah, so Trent goes into the bar that was down there, which he had already previously been in.
Yes.
At one point. And the guy that was in there and was basically telling him to leave. He was like, "You're not like us yet. Like, you can leave." He's saying, "I can't remember what came first, us or the book." And this is where Trent is basically saying like, "This isn't real. This isn't real." And he was like, "Reality is not what it used to be." And then that's when he shoots himself in the head. Trigger warning. Sorry, too late after I said it.
And he says it because he says, "I have to do this because it's the way he wrote it. He wrote it that way." Yep.
And then this is where we get to the big trying to escape scene. So afterwards he, almost retches as he comes out, as I imagine most people would after seeing that.
And he comes to Linda and Linda's like trying to attack him, but he ends up like punching her out.
Yep. And gets her into the car and then trying to find the keys. And all of a sudden she's awake again and she's like, "These keys?" Literally. Basically. And then she goes, she eats them. She eats the keys.
And so at this point, they're fighting in the car, right?
Yeah. And all of the townspeople are like converging on the car and they're all trying to get to him. And he finally starts the car with a screwdriver.
That's right. Yeah.
Shoves the screwdriver in and he gets on the road and he's driving away.
Not that far.
Yeah, not that far, because then she tries to kiss him. This is where I think she said his writing makes me want to try to kiss you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
she's essentially just distracting him, getting in the way, and it causes him to crash the car. She's like wanting them to crash the car.
Yeah.
But I don't know if did he crash the car?
I think he parks.
He just comes to a stop.
Yeah,
because he's like trying to get out,
and he sees the old man in the telephone booth sitting there calling someone. I guess I don't know.
No, 911. Yeah, the 411. And so he was just written that way. And we have her coming out of the car, and she starts doing she's extra. She starts doing like bending over backwards,
some exorcist shit, like whenever she comes down the stairs.
Yeah,
she's crab walking.
She's crab walking, but with her head turned around, looking up. Yeah, it's all this stuff, and he's just kind of watching her and freaking out. And
it was actually really cool.
Yeah, it seemed more like taunting, you know.
Yeah, she was just like, "Look what I can do."
And so he ends up getting past her, and leaving her, and that's whenever he gets back in the car. That's right, because she's out of it, and so he leaves. But every time that he's like trying to like leave the town, he ends up getting turned back around, and we just hear her like little giggle,
happening. Yeah,
over her head, and it turns him around 2 times, and then finally it turns him around, and he's like, "All right, I guess I got to face this," which is essentially the riot, the crowd.
Oh, and one of the times before, whenever he was trying to drive away, before he got sent back, he passed Styles on the bike, riding the bike like this.
With the old person,
and I was like, ew. The old man boy is what I called him,
a boyfriend.
And then at this point I was like, boy, just run them over. And then finally I was like, okay, there we go, good.
But when he fucking tries to do it, fucking Linda is there, and so he tries to avoid her even though she's been trying to kill him.
I know, I was like, just run her over. But he crashes the car.
Yeah.
Yep, crashes the car, and then ends up in a confessional.
In a confession box.
He was there.
Yeah, he's in there, and he sure wants a cigarette now. And he ends up talking to Sutter Kane, who is on the other side of the confession box.
And Sutter says, "Do you want to know the problem with places like this, with religion in general?
Is they seek discipline through fear."
Yep, it's never known how to convey the anatomy of horror. Religion seeks discipline through fear. It doesn't understand the true nature of creation. No one's ever believed it enough to make it real. The same cannot be said of my work.
Yeah.
So he's basically
really
God.
Full of himself.
Yeah.
He says more people believe in my work than the Bible.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that's when Sutter's like, or no, Trent's like, your book sucks.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, well, you should try my new book then. This one will drive you absolutely mad.
And he transfers him into the typewriting room.
Yep.
Yeah. And he gives him the new manuscript for the book to read it.
Because he says the more people who believe, the faster the journey.
Yeah, and he wants them to take the manuscript back to the world for everyone else. And, and what? Trent is like, nobody pulls my strings. Like, you're not going to make me do shit. Like, none of this is real. He's still, like, not having it. But he is essentially in the new book, like, in this book, because it's Into the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah. And he was like, you are what I write. You weren't here before I wrote you.
Yeah.
Basically. And he was like, do you think that was purely coincidence? My agent attacked you on purpose to stop the change. He didn't want this to happen. And he had seen it, so he was going to make it stop. And that's why he tried to get you. Which I was just thinking in my head. I was like, I wonder if everyone goes insane because he's written like a book for each individual person.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
But no, like the agent came after Trent in particular, unless there's just all these different timelines where that's happening. And that's what drives everyone insane, because then they go to the movie and they're watching their life and everything going spiraling and everything like that. I mean,
that could be an explanation. Yeah. I feel like there are probably multiple ways you can look at it.
I mean, if he's God, then basically omnipresent, he could do that.
All of them are real.
Yeah.
And so he is telling Trent that his world lies beyond the passageway that opens up behind him, which is basically like a long tunnel. And he ends up he tells him that he can't hold back the creatures for long, so he needs to start going. And at this point, that's whenever like a tear. Oh yeah,
he tears his face open.
Tears his face open, and it kind of becomes paper, like a hole in the wall, essentially.
Yeah, and this like book rift is left. All that's left after it.
And Trent goes and looks into it as Miss Styles is narrating essentially what was written into the book of what is happening now.
Yep.
And which
was pretty trippy.
Yeah, and he's saying like, as Trent walks up to the hole, he is faced with fear and doom and whatever, as he sees all the creatures that are rushing to come out. And as he runs off, essentially. And so he wants to take Linda with him. But she says she can't go because she's read to the end. Mm-hmm. So she's not allowed to.
Yeah. And so he's running from the monsters. And of course, this motherfucker trips.
Yeah.
I was like, come on, boy, get up.
I was like, and they were so close to him.
I know.
It gave very much like Hellraiser in that tunnel with that monster that we saw. Like
I know. That was exactly what I thought. Yeah. I was like, this is giving that worm monster thing. Mm-hmm. But when he trips just in time, he's like zapped back into the real world, basically.
Yep.
And of course, he stands up and he's like, I don't want this fucking book.
No.
And he drops it and leaves it. Mm-hmm. And we get that little boy
who is riding a bike and he's delivering what are the newspapers, like the boy would do back in the day, Paperboy. And that's whenever I remember that game on Nintendo 64, Paperboy. And so anyways, we have him asking the young man where the interstate is, and he points him straight ahead. And I think he also asked him another question before he
says, have you ever heard of Hobbs End?
Oh yeah,
and the
right.
Kid's like, no,
never heard of it. That's right. And then that's whenever he ends up getting to a motel. But as he's there, what?
In
December drinking horchata?
In December drinking horchata. Yes. When he's in the motel lobby, my peacock chair is there.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't, yeah.
The same chair that was like in Ganja and Hess, but those ones were much more ornate, I believe.
But it looked
this
just
one,
like yours?
yeah, it looked identical to the,
that's
the
cool.
same
Maybe
body
it's
type.
Twin.
Maybe. Well, I have the twin to it upstairs.
Oh, maybe these were in the movie. You don't even know.
Maybe.
You don't even know. They could have been from then. Literally.
Just like my little clown from House of a Thousand Corpses. Maybe that was the was in the movie too.
And so we have him doing stuff at the motel, but then he goes to use a phone or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
And that's whenever the dude who is the concierge at the motel says like, hey, you have a package, right?
Yep. And then the book, it's the book.
The book. Yeah. And he's like, who the fuck sent this? And he's like, tries to, get all up in their face. And the other dude comes out, I guess, who is much bigger than this guy. And is like, I was here and I didn't see anybody.
Yeah.
It was just
I'm the one who brought it here.
Yeah. Yeah. And he ends up burning the pages of the book
in the sink, which was like really weird.
And he ends up
I was like, oh,
that he's on a bus and he's trying to leave or get back to his home. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he ends up falling asleep and he wakes up and Sutter Kane is next to him
instead of the little old lady who was talking his ear off beforehand. And Kane's just basically fucking with his mind now. And he's like, did I ever tell you my favorite color is blue? And then he was like, just look around when you wake up. And we get another dream inside a dream situation again, basically, because he wakes up and
everybody's blue.
Everything's blue.
Yeah, all the colors, like their clothes and stuff, and
in their like hair.
Their hair, yeah,
everything.
It's so dumb. But he ends up like waking up in a scream, and like the people on the bus are like, "It's okay, you're awake now. Like, don't worry." And then that's whenever we have, I think, he ends up getting back to the boss, the CEO, right?
Yeah. He basically he was like complaining about Hobbs End to this lady, but then he goes and we're back at the publishers.
Yeah,
and the publisher's like, bro, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
we sent you off alone. There's no Styles. Linda Styles never worked here.
Yeah,
and he was like, and Trent says, oh well, that's an easy fix. He wrote her out. Kind of thing, which was like, okay, Trent. So
yeah, he's lost his marbles at this point.
You're believing everything.
Even the CEO guy is like, "Are you okay? Like, you're off. Like, what's going on with you?"
And he says, like, you delivered the manuscript months ago. The movie comes out next month. Yeah. Like, what?
It's like the movie's already been on the shelves for a few weeks now.
Yeah,
or the book. My bad.
like 7 weeks the book has been on the top seller list or something. Like it's in the people's hands at this point. There's no turning back.
And so he's like, what the fuck? And so he leaves and he ends up like seeing the pandemonium, and he goes to the bookstore and sees it. And this dude comes out and he's like, looks crazy. And he's like, obviously bought the book. And Trent asked him if he reads Sutter Kane or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he ends up killing him.
Just like what the publisher or the agent did.
Trying to do.
And this guy had the same eyeballs as the agent did.
Yeah.
It was those weird crystal clear blue eyes and stuff like that. And then this is where we end up back basically. Oh, and all while you're hearing this like newscast of global epidemic of paranoid schizophrenia, basically.
Yeah.
Is what's going on. And then that's when we end back with that other dude who asked him, well, how did you get here?
Yeah.
Which I don't remember his name.
I don't either, but and even Trent is like that, and I know why you're here because of all that happening. And he's like, I know what's happening out there.
Yeah.
In the outside world. And he's telling him like essentially, the human race will be a myth in less than 10 years to their children.
Every species can smell its own extinction. Yeah. Human race will be a bedtime story for their children, a myth, nothing more. Yeah. I like that line.
And he's like, Sutter Kane is causing the epidemic.
Yep.
And I think he's asking him, do you read Sutter Kane?
And the guy was like, no. And then he was like, so how is this supposed to take over for all the people? Like, what about the people who don't read books? And he was like, there's a movie.
Yeah. And then it pretty much just ends. That's the ending.
Yeah. Well, basically the doors to his cell gets like ripped off or opened.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
There's like lightning everywhere and shadows yelling, and some sort of like torment or something is happening outside of the place. And he's able to just walk the fuck out. Yeah.
And that's when he's walking out. There's blood everywhere and all the doors and everything's ripped off.
Destruction.
Essentially, it looks like a madhouse.
And he picks up this towel to magically remove all of his crayon. And I was like, what in the world kind of makeup towel is that?
For real, we need that.
I need that makeup wipe. That removed all that crown from his face perfectly.
And
I need that.
What happens after that?
Oh, the cities are basically abandoned. People are mutating. You're hearing all of this happening like over a news system and stuff. And then he finds a theater and he goes in to the theater.
God, how can I forget all this? Yes.
And he's basically watching the movie that we just watched. Literally. He's watching himself, and then he just ends. It just ends with him sitting there laughing.
Maniacally laughing.
Yeah. And maybe he's saying like, oh, fuck. I don't know. It kind of looked like he said, oh, fuck at the end.
Oh, yeah.
I like that, though.
This part gave the theater from Halloween Town as well.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, that's 1994's In the Mouth of Madness.
In the Mouth of Madness.
This was a listener request from Kenny. And then also kind of Mason. Mason asked for us to do this as well. And we were like, oh, lucky for you. We already planned to.
Asked for it.
Because Kenny had asked. So, yeah, how many boos would you give this?
I'm going to give this movie a good three boos. A 3 boo.
3 boos.
Yeah.
3 boobers. Why is that?
It's a pretty good story. I really enjoyed it. I thought I liked the whole kind of situation of it being written as we were watching kind of situation. Like, because it's trippy to think about in itself. It's like, because it's like how the guy in the bar said before he shot himself, like, I don't know what came first or the book. Like, is it the chicken or the egg that came first? Like, did these people exist before even any of this happened? And then, like, if Miss Stiles never existed, how was she there? From the beginning, you know what I mean? So that's just,
he wrote her out.
Exactly. But it's really trippy. And so I really like it. I think it was a good concept. I think, honestly, watching it from 1994 to now, the creatures and some things were kind of like outdated, but it still held up.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I'm also a really big fan of Sam Neill. So I just like Sam Neill.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think this is also like, this is something that could honestly be remade and like turned into like a Netflix series or something. And I would watch like a 10 episode series of like them fleshing it out even more, because there's just so much you can get into. It's pretty interesting, pretty cool.
Yeah, I would watch that series as well.
Solid 3.
Here is Kenny's review. Kenny says, cosmic horror has always been one of my favorite subgenres, and this film is another great example of why I love it so much. That feeling of dread and lack of control when dealing with beings and realities outside of our own understanding. This film can seem a little bit silly, but delivers great horror moments and some super eerie scenes. It's awesome how you slowly spiral into madness with Sam Neill's character as the story progresses. Although this film isn't one of John Carpenter's greatest, I give it a 4 out of 5 boos because it has moments that are up there with other cosmic horror greats like The Thing and Event Horizon. So 4 out of 5 from Kenny.
Awesome. Thank you, Kenny, for your input. Yeah, I agree with him too. And thank you for introducing me to a new cosmic horror.
Cosmic horror.
Yeah. I didn't think about it as that like subgenre, but like I love that name for it.
I feel like could Hellraiser technically be cosmic horror?
I feel like that, yeah, because they're like alien beings essentially, the Cenobites. But Caitlin, we'd love to hear from you.
I think I would also give it 3 boos. 3 boos was about where I was sitting as well. I did really enjoy the film. It was easy, super easy, hour and a half to get through.
Yeah.
I just wish it had subtitles, which it does if I was to have purchased it.
Exactly.
But it was super easy to get through otherwise. And I really, I enjoyed the storyline overall. I thought it was a really unique concept, and I liked the spiraling into the madness as well with Trent, that it made me feel like a little bit like, okay, what is going on? What is real? I don't know at this point. I couldn't tell if like Linda was real or what towards the end. And I really like that. I like being kind of duped in that sense. Yeah, I think I'd give it a solid 3 boos. I have some fun facts.
Fun fact me.
Hob is an old word which was used to refer to the devil.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know that. Hobbs End, Devil's End. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. And in the film, the works of Sutter Kane are occasionally quoted. Most, if not all of these quotes are actually taken directly from several H.P. Lovecraft short stories.
Oh, okay.
Yep. With some adaptations to fit them into the film story. Most notably in the scene where Styles reads to Trent as he gazes into the abyss, her speech lifts much of its description, including such elements as the illimitable gulf of the unknown, from the last few paragraphs of Lovecraft's The Rats in the Walls. In an earlier scene as well, Trent reads a line verbatim from Lovecraft's The Haunter in the Dark, in reference to the Black Church being the seat of an evil older than mankind and wider than the known universe.
It gives very the Church of the Rock from the Redeemer from the End of Tallgrass.
Yeah. Sorry, Hayden Christensen's feature film debut. He's the paper boy.
Oh, really?
They met Trent by the road.
Oh, that's funny.
That was why I made that face, because I was like, what? Oh, this is cool. The car keys that Styles swallows were made out of pasta.
Oh, really?
How?
So she actually swallowed that.
That's
cool.
so neat. How are they made out of pasta?
I have no idea.
That's really cool. Anyways, that's those are some fun facts.
Fun facts.
I like that though.
On In the Mouth of Madness.
I want to eat pasta keys.
Pasta keys.
I want to eat things that look like other things.
That's cool.
But are actually yummy. Like, have you watched that? Have you watched that show on Netflix called like Is It Cake?
I know what you're talking about, but I haven't seen it. But I've seen like videos of like stuff like that online. Yeah. Where like, is it cake? Is it not? Some
Andrew and I turned it on one day, and we like
obsessed.
Ended up spiraling and just watching.
How many seasons?
I think there were multiple. We only watched like probably 4 episodes because we had to go somewhere. But I was like trying to get ready. I was like curling my hair, but I would come out of the bathroom and like,
is it cake?
Watch the TV, and I'm like, who won? Who won? I need to know.
That's funny.
Is it cake?
I'll look into it. Maybe I'll watch it tonight.
It was cute. As always, though,
we are in the lovely Rogue Media Network studio.
That's right. They take great care of us.
Sure do.
You can listen to us or any of the other amazing podcasts on Rogue Media Network at
roguemedianetwork.com.
That's right.
That sounded really bad. Sorry. roguemedianetwork.com. There we go.
And if you don't want to listen there, you can also listen on a slew of podcasting platforms, the biggest two being
Spotify
and also Apple. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world.
Please like us.
Like us. Like us.
Love us.
Please. Please just like us.
Because it's written that way.
It is written that way.
Sutter Kane wrote it, so it shall be.
Written for you to like us. If you want to let us know your listener request, or if you've seen In the Mouth of Madness and you want to reach out to us and let us know your thoughts on it, you can do so on our one social media platform, and that is Instagram at
Boobaes Podcast, and that's BOOBAES, because we're your boobaes, not your boobabes.
That's right.
But
and just a reminder, we're doing a month of Netflix. This one was not on Netflix, but it is on YouTube, which is even more accessible than Netflix.
Yes.
So the next film that we'll be covering is, we could do either.
Lights Out.
Lights Out. Okay.
Lights Out. Wait, what was the other one? His House?
His House.
We
can do Lights
I want
Out.
to finish with Lights Out.
Okay.
So we'll do His House.
The next film we'll be covering is His House, and then after that it'll be Lights Out.
Lights Out.
So,
because that sounds more fitting to like end with Lights Out, because it's like Lights Out.
Lights Out on this Netflix series. I like it.
Yeah.
So if you want to watch those films along with us, please do so. And until next time, you guys.
Bye, babe.
Bye, bays.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.